Open up with me to Judges chapter 14 today. I'm going to take a little bit different approach as we begin our talk on Samson today. I'm going to read for you verses 1 through 4 of Judges chapter 14. Now Samson went down to Timnah and saw a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. And so he went up and told his father and mother, saying, I have seen a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me as a wife. And then his father and mother said to him, Is there no woman among the daughters of your brethren or among all the people that you must go and get a wife from the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said to his father, Get her for me, for she pleases me well. But his father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord, that he was seeking an occasion to move against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. In our lives, we can only be certain of a few things, right? I'm certain that my wife loves me. I'm certain that if I don't pay my electric bill, my electricity is going to get cut off. If I don't pay my utilities, they're going to get cut off. I'm certain that my children love me. But Benjamin Franklin said, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. And while I do not think it is quite that dreary, there are far more things that we can be uncertain of than we can be certain of. The title of this message today is Certainty in an Uncertain World. We can't count on the weather. We can't count on our jobs. We can't be certain of our health, and we can't be certain of our future, our children's future. All of those things are things that we aren't guaranteed. They're not guaranteed. Anytime that you've tried to plan an activity and you're counting on the weather to be good, many times that's when the weather's absolutely at its worst. Right? There's so many things in our lives that we are not certain about. It seems like our world is bathed in uncertainty, especially now in this day and age, in this time, in our country, in the world the way that it is, and things falling apart, and the way that people are behaving and acting. Our world is filled with uncertainty. Right now, this presidential election, I heard a statistic the other day that said over 40% of Americans are agonizing. They're upset, they're bothered about this election process this year. In this election, you got extreme points of view. You got people angry and fighting and bickering and calling each other names. We live in a day of uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know who's going to be over our country come November 8th. I don't know who's going to be leading the European Union. I don't know who's going to be have the power in this world. Russia's acted crazy, and Iran's acted crazy, and the crazy dude over in North Korea who's, always acted crazy. We don't know what's going on. The truth of the matter is we cannot be certain of what the future holds outside of Christ. Then when you and I look at Judges chapter 14, I want you to focus specifically on verse 4. See, Samson had a major weakness. I mean, one big weakness. Samson liked the ladies, and he lacked the self-control when it came to the ladies. And so when you look at Judges 14, you can see that he decided there was this pretty young thing down belonged with the Philistines, a Philistine birth, that he decided he wanted to make his wife. And he said, look, Father, go get her for me. I want her to be my wife. And the dad and mom said, aren't there any pretty Israelite ladies that you could get with? And he said, nope, I want her. And I'm sure they had lots of questions in their mind. What in the world is he doing? God had already promised what? That he would deliver the people of Israel from the tyranny of the Philistines. Yet here was their son who all of a sudden wanted to marry one. Right? They're like, what are you doing, man? You crazy? Don't you know that they're the enemy? Don't you know that they're the ones that have been oppressing us and taking our stuff and destroying our lands and attacking us. Why in the world would you want to marry one of their daughters? But the key to Samson's whole story in chapter 14 and chapter 15 and chapter 16 is verse 4. But his father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord. One thing that I believe God wants me to say this morning to encourage you and to encourage myself is that God will work within the weaknesses, the selfishness of man to accomplish his purpose. Amen. God does not require a vessel that is completely obedient to him, sold out to him, that acts according to what we believe to be God's word. He can use anything. Amen. God will use what you and I deem unusable, corrupt, fallen. He will still use it to accomplish his purpose. And Samson is the perfect example of God using a man's weaknesses to accomplish his purpose, to show that he was still in control regardless of what it looked like in the nation of Israel. Because you have to believe that to his parents it did not look like God had it all worked out. That maybe God made a mistake, because the very first thing he does when he's old enough to do it is he goes to marry a Philistine woman. God used Samson's weakness to accomplish his purpose. He used Samson's weakness for women to accomplish his ultimate purpose, which was for Samson to kill more Philistines in his death than he did so in his whole life. Right. See, it's because of Samson's weakness and his selfishness and his secrets before God that he wound up with his eyes gouged out, pushing a wheel and being stood between two pillars and made fun of. At the right appointed time, he stood between two pillars and said, God, I know I've sinned, but I need you one last time to give me the strength to get revenge on these Philistines. He's there because at that one moment when God had already purposed and predestined for him, he accomplished God's purpose in his life, but he didn't get there through his own strength. See, that's what Samson's known for, is it not? His great strength. Yeah. From the time that you're in Sunday school, all you hear about is how he killed a lion, and he killed a bunch of Philistines with a jawbone of a donkey, and how he tied foxtails together and put a torch in them and destroyed all the fields, and how he put the gates of the city on his shoulders and carried them up to the top of the hill. Those are the things that we hear about. We're like, man, Samson is the man. You hear about his great strength. But his great strength was a means to an end. Right. His great strength that God gave him when the Spirit came upon him was not what put him in the position to deliver Israel from the Philistines. It was God's use of his weaknesses. Does that mean God condoned his weaknesses? No. What I'm trying to say to you today is, even though it looks like God is not in control because of the selfishness of man, because of the self-centeredness of man, because of the wickedness of man, God says, don't you worry, don't you fret, I'm still in control. Amen. That's why the Bible can say, he takes all things and works them for our good. Right. Because God can take bad and he can work it out so that you and I benefit from it. Amen. He's not threatened by this world. He's not threatened by men's opinions or point of view. God does not care. So God uses the weaknesses of man to accomplish his purposes. And when you and I look around today, we can see a lot of weaknesses. The love of money, the love of power, the love of fame, the love of fortune. Do not mistake it. Our politicians, the majority of them are in the positions that they're in because they like prestige, they like power, they like the position and what comes with it. They're human beings. They're selfish. They're self-centered. They want to be reelected. They like their cushy positions. And they're selfish. And when you and I look at it from our point of view, we go, how in the world can God accomplish anything of such selfishness? But God uses that to accomplish his purpose. He will never be thwarted. He used the hard-heartedness of Pharaoh to accomplish his will. Pharaoh's self-righteousness, Pharaoh's selfishness, Pharaoh's self-centeredness was already in place. God just used it to accomplish his purpose. God can take that which a leader thinks he has hidden and use it to accomplish his glory. Use it to accomplish his purposes. He can take that which we would think would disqualify somebody. And he says, look, in the world's eyes, this person is evil. This person is wicked. This person does not love me, but I will still use them for my purpose because God is sovereign. So when you and I look at our world today and we look at what we're facing, we can know that our God is 100% in control. When you look at your finances and you think, my goodness, the only thing I can be certain of is I don't have enough to pay my bills. God can still use that which is you would consider to be not a source. He can use it to meet your needs. Amen. Things that you and I would look beyond, things that you and I would look over, God can still use. I've told you this story 1,000,000 times. But a man who hated me and mistreated me and took advantage of me, he ended up paying for me to be able to go through the ministerial internship program, even though he mocked me for being a Christian and mocked me for wanting to be a pastor someday. He's the one that ended up paying for it. This was a wicked man, an evil man, a man who did not fear or love God, yet God used him. Amen. I'm sure if you look at your lives, you can see examples of when God used something that was not of him to still accomplish his purpose. God used a donkey to tell Balaam to stop prophesying against Israel. God can use anything. And in this case, he uses the weakness of Samson to put him in a place where the Philistines will hate him. To put him in a place where he will suddenly accomplish God's purpose because of his weakness. I don't know if I'm making sense today. I don't know if I'm explaining it the way that it's in my brain, but I'm doing the best that I can. You will see if you read down further in Judges chapter 14, that Samson came across a lion that went to attack him. And this lion attacked him, and he killed it with his bare hands when the Spirit of the Lord came upon him. But later on, after he went and visited this lady, he was going to go see his bride-to-be to talk to her. He walked by the carcass of this lion, and honeybees had set up shop. Now, Samson was a Nazirite. He was not to drink wine, he was not to cut his hair, and he was not to defile himself with dead things. He knew full well what he was not supposed to do, yet he went over to the carcass of this lion, took the honey out of it and ate it, and then guess what he did? He shared it with his mom and his dad, but he did not tell them where it came from. In our world today, people have so many secrets that they think they're keeping us from us to accomplish their purposes. They present it like honey, but it came from the carcass of something dead.
Right.
Right? They got, in this world, we got all of these people offering all of these things. They're offering wealth, and they're offering fame, and they're offering position, and they're offering influence, and they're offering fortune. But it actually comes from the carcass of a dead thing.
Yes.
Not meant to be touched. Not meant to be used. It can't bring life. It will ultimately result in death. And Samson defiled himself, and he broke the law of God, and he caused his parents to defile themselves because of his secrets.
Yes, Jesus. That's good.
He broke God's law. He broke God's command upon his life out of selfishness and self-centeredness. And he said, no one will ever many times do people make promises to us that sound like honey, but they come from a dark place of selfishness and self-centeredness? They make promises in this world, and they break those promises because of where they come from. The minute that it impedes upon their own self-interest, they break their promise. That is honey that comes from something dead. It's defiling us with promises that are not from God. They're from Satan. But we are tricked because of the way it looks and the way it sounds and how sweet it is upon our ears and upon our lips. Had his parents known that that honey came from the dead body of a lion, they would not have eaten it. But they were defiled because of the secrets of Samson. Look, I must go tell you. God knows the secrets of those in leadership over us. What they don't want you to know beyond what they portray to the people. He knows my secrets. He knows your secrets. He knows how many emails Hillary deleted, and he knows how much Trump paid in taxes since the time that he started. And guess what? God don't care. God isn't bothered by that because the Bible says he puts into power whom he wants to be in power, and he tears down who he doesn't want to be in power. You can't fight against God. He told Paul, why you kick against the pricks? You can't fight God. He said, Paul, you can't fight me. Why are you fighting me? That's a losing situation. We can't fight God. God will accomplish his purposes regardless of the plots and the machinations of man. Amen. They may speak honey that comes from death, but our God knows the source of their promises. He knows their secrets, and they will not fool the children of God if they will stay in tune with him. Okay. He is the one thing that's certain in a world of uncertainty. I can't believe what man says or what man promises, but I can believe my God who knows the thoughts and the intents of the heart. Yes. Samson had secrets that he didn't want anyone else to know. He thought he was getting away with it. He brought his mom and dad into his own defilement of God's commandments. They didn't know. They trusted their son. I've trusted some people in my life who let me down. I've trusted some people who are in positions of authority who broke my confidence and broke my trust. I trusted some people at face value and realized that they had a whole closet full of mess behind them that was still influencing their lives. People are imperfect and we have our secrets, and those secrets impact the decisions that we make in our lives. But God is not threatened. God is not afraid. God does not wring his hands and say, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? If Trump becomes president, or if Clinton becomes president, or if Putin suddenly decides he's going to take Syria the rest of the way, or whatever the case may be, God already knows. Right. God's already ordained it. God's already perfected it. God's already got it under control. And it not only applies to our life in the political realm and in the realm of nations, but it applies to me personally. Yes. God already knows. He's already got it under control. Your husband or ex-wife being mean to you, God's got it under control. He knows their heart. Your children rebelling, God's got it under control. He knows their heart. Your job mistreating you, your boss mistreating you, God's got it under control. Yes. He knows the heart. Amen. It's his purposes that'll be accomplished. I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to be intimidated of man, because my God is the creator of man. Amen. He used the selfishness of Samson. Because Samson, when he went to have his feast, his marriage feast with his wife-to-be and her family, he gave a riddle to all the Philistines who came to that feast. And he thought he was so clever. Oh, I'm so clever, they'll never get this. No one will ever know. I never told my dad and mom about it. They certainly don't know about it. This beautiful young Philistine lady doesn't know anything about it. And he told them, look, if you get this riddle, I'll get for you 12 changes of clothing and linens. But if you don't get this riddle, you need to give that to me. Now, that wasn't God telling, you know what I'm saying? God wasn't like, Samson, go do this stupid riddle. Samson was selfish and self-centered, and he thought, I'm getting some free stuff. Ha, 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 I'm so smart. He was selfish. Because when the Philistines put pressure on his wife to be, and she finally noodled out of him the secret to the riddle, and they told him the answer, he became so angry that he went downtown and killed a bunch of people just to steal their stuff and give it to the Philistines. He became so angry in his selfishness. And that wasn't the only time that Samson sought revenge. The Philistines got mad because of what Samson had done. So they took his wife and they took her dad and they burned him alive in their home. Not just because of that, it's also because he took foxes and tied their tails together and let those foxes loose and burn up all their crops. They got mad, they got angry, they burned his house down, or burned his father-in-law and his wife alive. He got so angry when that happened that he just went hardcore killing everybody. And the Bible says he did it because he wanted revenge. He did it not because of some godly statute or because of some godly righteousness. He did it because he was selfish and self-centered, and he decided that he deserved retribution. They deserved what they got, and he killed them. He killed them out of a sense of revenge. But God used all of these weaknesses of Samson to accomplish his purposes, because his ultimate purpose was to deliver the nation of Israel from the Philistines. His ultimate purpose was for Samson to stand between two pillars and destroy all the Philistine leaders and royalty at once. Now, you and I, we think about that, and that's kind of a scary proposition, is it not? How can you and I think that it was God's purpose for Samson to stand between those two pillars? But it was. God took that man and he broke him. He broke him. He destroyed his pride. He destroyed his sense of self-righteousness. He destroyed his arrogance. Right there in a moment, God took it away when they cut his hair off and hauled him away. But the Philistines hauled him away. God took all of that away from him in an instant to accomplish his purposes. He used Samson's weaknesses, he used Samson's selfishness to accomplish his will. And in our life today, what you and I are facing, God will use what seems to be nothing but evil. He can still take it and make it good. Work it out for our good. That doesn't mean he takes us out of the situation. That doesn't mean he automatically makes it all better. That doesn't mean he takes it away. It just means he takes what looks like evil and he makes it good. He works it out for our good. That means you may be sick and God may not heal you, but he'll take it and make you to what he wants you to be. That's our good. See, it all becomes, is built in our definition of what good is, what abundant life is. It's all built into what we believe those things are. If you and I believe abundant life and God working things out to our good means perfect health and perfect finances and 5-bedroom house or Cadillac or Lexus or Mercedes-Benz, we have the wrong definition of abundant life and good. Because God's definition of abundant life is him giving us joy, peace, strength, and happiness in spite of what you and I face. But we got it backwards. We think that it's all about material things. We think it's all about our comfort in this world. It has nothing to do with my physical comfort or my lifestyle. It has everything to do with my relationship with God, the intangible things. I get mad at God because God doesn't do what I want him to do when I want him to do it. That's my selfishness, my self-centeredness. God, why in the world are these people in these positions? Why? It doesn't make sense. You need to fix it. But God gives us peace and comfort to know that he's under control. He's got it under control.
Amen.
We can be certain of that he knows, he's under control, and he's in the midst of the situation. He's there. He's got it under control. No matter what you and I face in our lives today, God's got it under control. If you have fear, if you have doubt, if you have anxiety about tomorrow, God's got it under control.
Amen.
God is the one thing that we can be certain of in the midst of sea of uncertainty. He's the one thing that you and I can take hold of and that will not fail us or let us down.
Amen.
That's in the world around us. People will let us down. Things will let us down.
Amen.
Power will let us down. Position will let us down. But God will never let us down, and he will never fail us. He's the one certain thing that I can hold on to regardless of what's going on in the world around me. Thank you for listening to this message. We hope that you enjoyed it and were blessed by it. Each month we have people from all over the world who listen to the messages made available. If you've been blessed by this ministry, would you consider making a donation of any amount to help support us as we continue to reach the lost for Christ? Donations can be made online at www.reviveoc.org or by check at Revive Outreach Church, 411 Chatham Heights Road, Suite 101, Fredericksburg, Virginia 22405. Thank you for your prayers and your continued support. May God richly bless you.